I should be talking. I'm just letting the song play out. My intro music. Alright, that's the intro music done. Now we can move to the topics. It's mostly going to be Labour based, I think. All those things would have been so easy to maintain in the withdrawal agreement. Oh well, yeah, we're a mile away from that. So yeah, what are Labour playing at? It's going to be interesting. I think this stream. I don't know if I have many pro Labour people in my channel anymore. Then again, it has been a while. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, we can start now. To be fair, and oh boy, is it going to be a fun one because there's a lot to discuss here. Um, Hope you guys are buckled up for it. I don't think I've ever done a full stream on just Labour, but I guess it would make sense given the fact that they're in power now. Um, so yeah, we might as well start. I'll be doing community posts for questions again. I just need to remember. It's just good to be back doing YouTube. Honestly, I was bored for like a whole month. I think. Man, it was longer than a month to be fair, and I'm more than happy to be walking back into hell with you guys. Because what else would I be doing if I wasn't doing this? I guess. So yeah, it's gonna be a rough old time on the old streams. So let's start with the youth mobility scheme. Now, there was one more Labour topic I was going to discuss, which was Yvette Cooper and her rhetoric around immigration. I might save that one for another video because, as you can see, even though we're not allowed to discuss the tabs on the screen, there's a lot of tabs on the screen. I do wonder how bad is Task Manager screaming. I'll be looking at trying to get a PC upgrade maybe this year or early next year. I'm not sure yet. Okay, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad, guys. Okay. So, anyways, so let's start off with what was the original scenario. So this article in the Times, I'm going to say, is, I think there's a briefing from ministers. Now, what ministers, some, I think the pro EU ones are trying to do is get the ball moving towards maybe convincing the wider government to move towards being more pro EU. And so one of the ways they were going to do that was talking about the mobility scheme for under 30s. Now, as sad as it is to hear, I will be hitting that age cap soon. So this doesn't really benefit me that much, in a sense, but it will benefit some of the other youths out there. So what was said was the move could see, so this move they're talking about could see people being under the age of 30 could be allowed to live and work in the EU for up to 3 years with a reciprocal agreement for UK citizens. Now, one of the reasons why one of the things that you were talking about in this was about having essentially EU students pay less in university fees compared to other international students. So that'll be quite interesting, in that sense that they're still, still happy to. I guess they still want to, get a deal on universities. To show you that how renowned kind of UK universities are in Europe. But as the quote goes, no one will say it publicly at this stage, but there is an excuse me, big yawn there. No one will say it publicly at this stage, but there is an acknowledgement that this is an area where we will need to move, said a government source. If we're serious about resetting relations with the EU, then we need to be prepared to give them some of the things that they want. Now, the EU is quite pro-migration for cultural reasons. That's something where someone talks about in a video that we'll be discussing. I think it does build social cohesion. I think they, especially with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, do want to bring the UK back into the fold a little bit, not as in a full EU member or any kind of special agreement, but just to say to the UK that you don't have to be like them, really, I guess. Another source said that while the government had not proposed any plans for a youth mobility scheme, they were prepared to listen to what the EU had to say on the issue. However, they added that this would not be a return to freedom of movement. This is a red line, so that's one thing they're consistent on. Labour has made it clear it wants to see an improvement in trading relations with the bloc through a veterinary agreement that could reduce bills on the UK food crossing the Channel. Ministers also want to reach a deal so that European countries recognise Britain's professional qualifications. So Erasmus is bringing universities 240 mil net annually. Is it really surprised they want EU students back? Now, it's interesting because it's the EU that want the lower fees for EU students, and it's the universities who actually don't. The universities who don't want to honour this, because they would rather have EU students paying the higher fee. So, Jodie, that is something slightly different. I don't know if I've got that article loaded up, but that's not super important. And so when it comes to discussing this article, so this video from the 22nd of August.
Is there a discussion being had, and would you think it a fair thing to do to allow under 30s from the EU to come and work and study in the UK as part of a reciprocal freedom of movement for young people with the EU?
So I'm not aware of any plans. I know that, we're really keen to reset our relationship with our nearest neighbours.
Why deny young people the opportunity to go and work and study in Europe, and similarly for those people to come to the UK? That would help relations, wouldn't it? Is that being talked about in government, being considered?
So not that I'm aware of. And to be honest, as a Department for Education, what we are really focused on is how we create...
So this, I'm assuming, is a junior minister?
...those opportunities right across this nation. That is our greatest lever to grow our economy and build a better country for everybody too.
To have that relationship with the EU improved, including possibly that freedom of movement for young people, would help the economy.
No, to spread opportunity right across the country.
So she doesn't answer the question, and it goes to, let me see how many times he's got the counter up for. What's that, 8 times? She doesn't answer the question. Not great, is it? Is this the EU who are saying this, or is Starmer, I'm assuming, wavering again? I'm not sure. So, you had the original story, ministers are preparing to allow freedom of movement for under 30s in the EU, and then it came out from the FT, someone briefed the FT, we're not considering an EU-wide youth mobility scheme, there will be no return of freedom of movement. So I don't know why there's a proposed community note here, actually. It's been, okay, it's all this stuff here. So, as you can see here, UK ministers ruled it out. So it's all happening. These are all anonymous briefings that are happening here, as you can tell. I just realised my microphone is actually obstructing my view of my screen, so I'm just going to move it slightly. Bear with me, guys. Don't know how I managed to not see that. So this is the origins. This is the origins of the actual story, right? This has the origin of it. So if we have a look here, this is the important bit. So according to sources, so this was when the EU made the offer in April. So in April, the EU made a formal offer to negotiate a bloc-wide youth mobility programme, but this was immediately rejected by both Labour and Rishi Sunak. According to sources, the offer, which came out of the blue, was an attempt by the Commission to quash a bid by the UK to do unilateral deals with 6 countries, including France, Spain and Germany. So this for me is the answer. So the idea that the EU want this agreement and they're willing to make compromises for it is complete garbage. In my opinion, based on what I'm seeing here, the reason the EU made this block-wide offer is to stop the UK from cherry picking. In the French in particular were adamant that the UK should not be allowed to cherry pick EU access post-Brexit. So in my opinion, it's very clear what's going on here. It's very clear. It's about this right here. This is the reason why the EU went for that agreement, because they didn't want those members, maybe like Spain or maybe a Germany is pro these kind of agreements, to kind of waver on this and allow the UK to cherry pick. That's correct. The UK is dealing with the EU on this, not individual member countries. Exactly. And that's the point. This would mean EU students. This is the bit I was talking about, Jodie. Another apparent obstacle in the EU proposal is that the element that would allow UK and EU students to have home fee status again at each other's universities for 4 years. This would mean EU students at UK universities pay notably lower fees. Representatives of the UK universities have said this would not. They would not be able to shoulder the extra cost and could not see Labour subsidise them. Sources say, it wouldn't be Labour subsidising them; it just wouldn't be paid. It's not a subsidy. So this is the key bit here. this bit here, which people seem to fail to mention. And when we look at things like unemployment, when you look at Dutch unemployment, 3.6%, very low. When you look at Germany's unemployment is slightly higher at 6. But obviously, all of these countries use different metrics to measure unemployment, and the UK is at 4.2. So a mobility scheme wouldn't really benefit the EU anyways. In terms of getting British workers in, unless they're looking for specific skills. But then again, the EU I don't think recognises our professional qualifications anyways, so it doesn't really make sense. And this is another thing. This was one of the reasons why the UK was looking to cherry pick initially. So this was what it was about. It's about mostly seasonal workers, but I think it was especially about au pairs. Now I'm going to butcher that word or two words. I'm not French, okay? It is au pair. Okay, if you want me to do a Wenger accent, I will, but I'm not gonna besmirch the good name of Arsene Wenger. So this was what it was about, because rich people wanted nannies and stuff to come in to help with childcare. 0-hour contracts don't count as unemployed in the UK, but are illegal in the EU. That's it there. So this person here saying we benefit tremendously from having au pairs when we were raising our kids, said Leslie Gardner from London, who is in her 70s and works in publishing. And so this is mentioned a few times in the article. They do mention things like, other kind of workers like baristas, waiters, and stuff like that. But I think au pairs is what it was mainly about. That's why the UK wanted that deal with France specifically. And I do remember that was one of the initial stories that was breaking out at the time. And this person here talking about how they had 10 au pairs from all over Europe, etc. And this is the hilarious bit for me. Some, such as Thomas, a waste engineer in his 20s from southeast England, saying there are concerns that an improvement in mobility for young people could be abused to lead to higher net migration, because we already have a housing crisis, we're not building enough homes, we can't find somewhere else to stay. If such a scheme is not managed properly, it could upset those who are worried about immigration. And shocker, he's concerned about immigration. He goes, he voted to leave the EU, but looking back, he feels the referendum was missold to people. It caused a lot of division, and people were feeling tense about a high level of immigration to the UK. He says, I think the scheme is good in general, but I'm worried about it being done blindly. In the way the EU referendum vote forced people to either see the EU as beautiful and perfect, or terrible and irredeemable. They didn't see the EU like that at all. The only ones who did see that, I think, are the ones who voted for Brexit. He goes, I want to see a proper assessment, which is fair. But I think this is the key for me, anyways. If you guys disagree, let me know. But I think this is the answer right here. It's mostly about these kind of special kind of seasonal workers, au pairs, who help kind of middle class and upper class families, I guess, with childcare, when they're on holiday and whatever. So I think this for me is the answer. When you look at when you look at the countries being requested here, you got Germany, France, Spain, right? These are Western European countries. Italy will probably be in the mix as well. But yeah, so that's kind of the crux of it for me, in my opinion. This one's pretty good as well. Goldsmith, who's 85, lives in London, says, can't believe the government said no to it, but I feel even more betrayed by Labour on this. I voted Labour all my life. I keep having to persuade myself that Starmer is playing the long game and trying to form the next government before he could... Excuse me. Playing the long game, etc. But this article is old. This one's from this is 3 months old, but I think this is the origins of the story here. That's kind of the point of me discussing it, I guess. I still can't figure out why they're angry, anyways. I mean, they don't know why they're angry. Let's be honest. They hate foreigners. They want to smoke the foreign pack. But they didn't get what they wanted at the end of the day. They didn't get what they wanted. When you vote for racist policies and you don't get the racism you requested.
Things, doesn't it?
Honestly. I just really hope that one plays, to be fair. Stings, doesn't it? That's one I actually need. But, when we move to the actual talkers of this, and we'll be discussing another person in this video, in the stream. This isn't the racism I voted for. That's a banger comment. That's a banger comment right there. And given, before we discuss this, let's think about what we've discussed so far, right? This policy is one that you proposed, in my opinion, and based on the facts that we have here, to stop the UK from cherry picking, right? The EU would want, I think, for cultural reasons, they do believe in the benefits of things like freedom of movement, etc. But when we move to kind of the logic of the 4D chess stuff and it will happen, I just don't see it.
Told by sources in the government,
So this is stuff we've covered originally before.
They'll probably have to give ground on this youth mobility issue in order to get their reset of relations with the EU. In other words, assuming this report is accurate, what the government are very quietly saying is, yeah, youth mobility scheme, yeah, it's not something we're really that bothered about. But, you know, if it helps us get something we are really bothered about, we're not totally opposed to it, right? So it's basically going to happen. It was always going to happen. It's really just a case of Labour getting something in return for a scheme that would be as much use to us as the EU. In fact, I would personally argue that although the EU are the ones really pushing this, the scheme would be of more use to Britain than the EU, I think.
Which is what I've been saying. It would be more beneficial to Britain. You know, even the EU-wide, especially the EU-wide scheme, would be more beneficial to Britain.
Because I think what we have here is something. It goes on the EU pile of wants that we pretend to not.
I mean, it's as close as we're going to get. Let's be real. The 4-year visa.
Be bothered about concede ground on, but actually does a lot of good economically as well as socially. It will mean getting. I mean, from the EU's point of view, it's the social benefits they're interested in. That sort of, cross-cultural sharing. But for us, like, there's a huge economic benefit getting access to those young casual workers from Europe again.
Which is something they mention in the article.
That, you know, I suppose farming, but also the hospitality industry is badly missed. Now, obviously, if I see it that way, I'm sure that
it's not going to be just those industries. You know, medical professionals who might want to get their experience done in the UK, stuff like that.
EU Commission do as well. I don't think this is a cunning ruse on Labour's part as such. I can't imagine we're going to leverage major concessions. I don't think, for example, that us pretending to concede on this gets us the veterinary agreement, right? But nonetheless, we're getting a picture of precisely the trajectory I talked about.
It's all part of the plan, guys. It's all part of the plan. Starmer's got this in the bag.
What Labour really wants is anything that lowers trade barriers. They see the veterinary deal as an example of something that would lower trade barriers, but is more urgent for us than the EU. And also the veterinary deal kills two birds with one stone. Like, first of all, and it's not talked about enough.
And with the veterinary agreement, getting one would be good. But, you know, this idea that, the Labour are going to essentially use this to compromise with the EU makes zero sense when we are the most, the party that are going to benefit from it the most. And especially if you believe the context I put out, that the reason the EU offered this is to stop the cherry picking.
It massively dials down the visible signs of Brexit division between Britain and Northern Ireland. It dials down those political tensions. That's something that you could sort of say to the EU as well, because they're as interested as anyone else in making sure that you don't have a lot of division.
What's crazy to me is you get these guys who rush out stories, right? Rush these stories out, and then had he waited, he would have had this article correcting the record, I think, for the most part, and explaining it properly what the situation was. You know, this article that came out at 12:50 BST. I don't know if this was his 6 p.m. video or his 12 one, but it's ridiculous.
Within Northern Irish politics on the issue. But secondly, I mean, it won't abolish the need for, say, standards paperwork or controls as such, because we'll still be outside the single market. But the aim would be to reduce the number of checks at trade borders, which would help a lot. That's what Labour want as a priority. And it's not something the EU have as a priority. So everything else they're going to do will be with that in mind. So yeah, Labour are obviously going to sound a little hesitant to back anything that the EU seems very, very excited about, because it wants to turn it into, say, oh, well, this is something the EU want. Well, yeah, we're not that bothered. But, oh, if you insist, oh, okay, we're not opposed to it either. Turn it into a concession on our part in return for something else. But there was no way a Labour government were ever going to actually block a youth mobility scheme. That makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. It makes sense given the fact that, I was going to actually do a video on immigration, actually. It makes sense given that Labour are trying to not appeal to, but trying to placate racist people, talking about there were genuine reasons, and things like that, I think, in the riots. It's a complete baloney. I need to find that one, actually. Let's see if I can find it. Crazy enough that the Conservatives did, but you could sort of get from their sort of politics how they could paint themselves into that corner. Labour government, they've got absolutely no hang-ups that would require them to block something like this. Makes no sense. And although I don't want to put too much, I mean, this is a single article in the Times quoting unnamed government sources, and we don't know what those government sources are. I'm going to tell you, this is going to happen. It was always going to happen like this. I
guarantee it. And this is the thing that the guys like him fail to understand. is this. I don't know if I loaded up this right. Oops. I need to wait a second. There it is. There. This is the point that guys like him don't get.
And those that'll follow him. We don't just sit back and hope for the best. We'll make the best happen.
That's it. That's what these guys don't get. That, you're sitting back and hoping for the best. Yeah, they're in these groups in Labour and whatever, right? There's never going to be any outward pressure on Labour for these schemes if you listen to guys like him. It's never going to happen because they will always vote for Labour. They will always vote for Labour. There's no consequence. There's no electoral consequence. He will never leave. And he'll tell all his followers the same, keep voting Labour. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. It's complete garbage.
Absolutely, this is my I told you so. I
told you what, fam? You told us what? You got a load of anonymous sources who briefed the Times that this scheme, Labour are looking at this scheme as a means to use it to make the EU compromise on trade, right? That's what you saw, look. And then you've got literally saying Labour has insisted there is no plans to agree with the youth mobility scheme. What did you tell us exactly? What have you told us? That Labour have doubled down on not backing this scheme.
Going to be a hell of a lot louder in the future when we actually see concrete progress, which may not be that quick. We keep being told that we can expect slow progress with the EU relations.
It's literally guys like you keep telling people, keep waiting, be patient, etc., etc. You're the ones telling people to be happy. Wait, it'd be worse under the Tories. There's no outward pressure here.
That's not from our government. That's not from our side. That is from the EU Commission as well.
If Labour wanted to improve relations, they could have gone for this scheme. Like, them trying to negotiate over this stuff makes zero sense when we're the ones without the leverage. We don't have the leverage here. We can talk about ideals, but at the end of the day, like, you'd have to get all EU members to agree to this scheme for a start and the exact rules behind it, which would be pretty difficult. But, the main reason it was offered, it was to tell the UK, stop trying to cherry pick. That's the reason the scheme was offered. His analysis completely shot, honestly. I just don't get how you can come up with this video. And again, like...
Don't just sit back and hope for the best. We'll make the best happen.
And that's what guys like him just don't get. You can't just sit back and hope for the best. And then we move on to our next story. What's this? Here it is. Our next story, which is Rachel Reeves planning to raise taxes and cut spending in the October budget. So I was actually quite excited. She was promising, pushing for minimum wage increase, public sector pay increase. That was all good. The UK needs the EU's youth seasonal workers and to fill the universities. There is no corresponding need on the EU side. It's only for cultural reasons. It's only for the idea of, the more kind of people travel and kind of, I guess, integrate, the better relations between people become, which does make some sense. But that's about it. EU unemployment is quite low. And what countries don't want is a chance for the countries with already low unemployment to go off to the UK to work there. It literally makes no sense. I mean, we're smoking the logic pack here, guys, today. I just genuinely don't get it. Phil might as well say that.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
I'm baffled. I'm baffled, guys. I'm baffled. I don't know. Maybe my analysis is wrong. I don't know. But he's doing the General Shepherd. I know you understand.
I know you understand.
Crazy. It's just the how bad people's analysis can be in this space. It's just wild. Just telling people to be patient, etc. Now he should be telling people, look, go right to your MP and say, look, we voted for you guys. We want to be more pro EU. Why are you not doing this? Why are you not backing what we want? I don't get it, guys. But yeah, moving to this. Rachel Reeves is planning to raise taxes, cut spending, and get tough on benefits. We've heard that one before in October's budget. And so, given that Labour, I think, ran on a manifesto of not raising things like income tax, I don't know what taxes they're going to raise. She's talking about a substantial black hole to fill. This is where borrowing has gone up. I don't know what she's going to do, to be honest. She announced last month she was scrapping winter fuel payments for most pensioners. That's stuff I need to look more into, to be honest, in terms of the impacts of that. The Treasury's made it clear that further choices will need to be made when Reeves delivers the first Labour budget since 2010. We have no idea. They're just briefing, honestly. A source said, we don't accept the positive economic inheritance line given the decade that went before, but regardless, nothing in the recent data could be looked can offset the black hole in public finances. In terms of what Rachel Reeves is looking at, raising more money from inheritance tax and capital gains tax, that's fine, 100% on board with that. Sticking to plans for a 1% increase in public spending, even though it would involve cuts for some Whitehall departments. I mean, this right here is awful. 1% pay increase despite inflation being at just above 2%, I think. That's a below inflation increase. This is essentially a cut, effectively a cut. Rejecting pressure to scrap the 2-child benefit cap, so more children in poverty. That has an impact, an economic impact and a societal impact. Again, the government could get rid of this if they wanted to. It's not going to cost them that much, especially since that money comes back into the economy as well. Changing the way data is structured to exclude the Bank of England. I mean, this one again is fine, but you're just kind of fiddling numbers at that point. So it's not great, is it? Reeves said before she would inherit the worst public finances of any chancellor since the Second World War. And so, what did Attlee do post World War II? Did he commit to austerity? No, he borrowed money from he borrowed money and invested that into the country. That was the right thing to do. Maybe the Whitehall marching powder department is due for defunding. Let's hope so. When you look at the UK's debt to GDP, government debt was equivalent to about 99.4% of GDP at the end of July. It was at 95.6% at the end of July 2023. So it's gone up a fair bit. And I think that's because the economy shrunk a bit. And if you remove the Bank of England's debt, we get an alternative measurement. Government debt, Bank of England was 91.9. So if she does remove the Bank of England's debt, that means automatically our debt to GDP ratio goes down, and then that does give her more headroom to kind of borrow and invest. But I don't know if she's going to do that, and I don't know if I don't know how badly she's going to get called out for just fiddling the numbers at that point. So that one's a bit of a strange one. We look at another country like France, for example, debt to GDP 112.3%. Yet no one fearmongers about France's debt to GDP that much. Not that I've heard of. And people, what is this? Is this just my Twitter feed? Okay, yeah, it is. Grim budget with tax rises on the horizon. So the briefing's already started from the Treasury. This is the articles that I was talking about. I'm just going to zoom in to be able to. Wait, what's it not let me zoom in for? Okay, apparently I'm not allowed to zoom in. Thanks. So I'm going to have to squint at this a bit. But, Starmer's speech on Tuesday, that's going to happen on Tuesday outside Downing Street, saying a direct message to the working people across Britain. He will say that the rot left by the Conservatives so deep that much worse had imagined. Sorry, I can't even read. He will say that the rot left by the Tories is so deep and so much worse than he had imagined that improvement won't happen overnight. The Prime Minister will make the extraordinary claim that those who took part in the recent riots were doing so because they knew society had been left broken and there were not enough prison places. That is genuinely, right, the dumbest statement I've ever heard. And there's a quote here as well, saying not having enough prison spaces is about as fundamental as a failure as you can get. Those people throwing rocks and torching cars, they didn't just know the system was broken. It goes on to page 2. I'll probably record the video before this full article comes out, before the speech is done, but that's only because of time constraints. But honestly, he's trying to justify the riots by saying, the country's broken. It don't make sense. And that's why they were like not having. I just don't get it. They said that. Will make the extraordinary claim that those who took part in the recent riots were doing so because they knew society had been left broken and there were not enough prison places. The reason why those people took the streets and rioted was because they're racist. They're racist people, let's be honest. They were attacking hotels which had asylum seekers in them. They were attacking immigration. They were trying to attack pro-immigration places. They're racist. It's not. We're allowed to say it. Why I'm not allowed to zoom into this, I don't. Okay, now it's gone really weird. But yeah, no, it's just batshit crazy to me, this stuff. Labour has no plans for a wealth tax, has been revealed, despite Britain's biggest trade union unite calling for the new government to implement one. This is from Francis Ryan, talking about it's a story Starmer, Reeves and their colleagues should bear in mind about how imposing cuts not only ruins lives but soon results in the reverse of what was intended. costs go up often uncontrollably. This is about special educational needs, and these are going to be more victims of austerity, unfortunately. I've already got this one, that one. And, there are questions, you got mainstream commentators asking questions about this stuff. When austerity was happening under Osborne, they didn't have much to say, but now they do, apparently, because austerity is bad now.
Absolutely insane. British Gas profits up 10 times over last year, 751 million. BP, the first 3 months of this year, £4 billion in profit in 3 months. Shell, £22 billion profit. £22 billion, and the government looks at those figures, and yes, to be fair, they're not all UK profits, but they're still huge profits they're making. It looks at those figures and it says, actually, no, that we'll leave that aside. Where we're going to recoup some money is actually from the nation's pensioners.
Which is true, to be fair. They shouldn't, where were these windfall taxes they were gassing up a couple of years ago? Is there any mainstream mention of the actual winter fuel payment eligibility? People who need it still get it. They do, but I think they've got to apply with the. They've changed it to means tested. Means tested itself has a cost. You still need like administrators and whatnot to administrate them. We don't know how much of a saving this even will be, especially since they're talking about doing Whitehall cuts. This from Ed Miliband, which drives me nuts. It goes, the rise in the price cap is a direct result of the failed energy policy we inherited. So he's trying to blame the Tories for this stuff when he's literally in government. The government can change the guidance, or maybe they can't of Ofgem, but they can say to Ofgem, look, this is your remit. If you don't follow this remit, you will be abolished, and we'll come up with a new independent regulator to deal with this stuff. That's what they can do if they wanted to. Starmer warns of this stuff. We must redistribute the tax. This from Prem Sikka. Talks about redistribution, etc. You got Rachel Reeves talking about how she's weighing a PFI style deal for the 9 billion new Thames crossing. You just like we've seen PFI completely nonsense before. They could literally establish a price cap. Yeah, they could establish a price cap if they wanted. Honestly, this one here, like. What are they doing? Like, generally, that's the title of the video. What are Labour doing? I don't get it. I'm baffled. Talking about dodgy contracts.
Dodgy contracts, privileged access, jobs for their mates. This is the return of Tory sleaze.
And now you've got Labour peer Wahid Ali is Starmer's biggest personal donor, paying 50k towards his clothes, etc. Now he is a pass to number 10 and fixed post general election party attended by his by donors in his garden. Downing Street won't say why. So this is incredibly dodgy. 50 G's you can buy the Prime Minister effectively. When it comes to the energy stuff, move this back here. When it comes to the energy stuff, I mean, our prices are going up still. I think ones in broader Europe are coming down. Rachel Reeves saying, I'll never forget the woman in Leeds I spoke to who had purple fingers because her pension wasn't enough to pay for the heating. Guess she's forgotten her. And this from Starmer as well, talking about, let's see, I'll move this over here. So I'm just shuffling. He goes, here's the choice. Let the oil and gas companies continue to make huge profits while every family across the UK suffer, or do something about it. Labour will stop the energy price going up. This would save families thousands of pounds. £1,000. Where is this guy? Where is this brother gone? That's the question. Can we send a search party for him? This is the guy running off Gem. Sorry, talking about this.
I'll start by saying, I think as Ben said earlier in your programme, I talk to customers on a regular basis, and I know this is not welcome news for many households, and I know many households still struggle with all of their bills, including energy. But what we're announcing today is a 10% increase in the price cap. That's the regulated price that we lay out that says that's the maximum a company can charge if you're not in the wider market, if you're not on, for example, a fixed deal. Now, the reason we're making that change is those price increases are driven by the increase in cost in the international gas that we buy.
Can you do a couple of simple explainers for us? Someone listening to you this morning, as you said, they might be wearyingly thinking, I've just listened to the boss of Ofgem saying 10% more. Ouch. Can you explain to us in the clearest possible terms why that 10% figure can't be 6%? Why can it not be 8%.
So we look at natural gas prices as well. Like, maybe I've got this stuff wrong here. Maybe this is not the exact thing to be looking at. But from my dumb view, these are the natural gas prices, right? So if we look at them over 5 years, this is kind of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But surely prices should be coming down now, no? That's the natural gas price. Am I wrong, chat? Am I wrong? Is this looking at the wrong thing? Is the price cap still allowing somewhat around 25% of last year's record profits? Am I looking at the wrong thing here, guys? Because from what I can see, the prices come down dramatically, and yet UK bill prices have barely come down. Like, guys, am I wrong here? Because you can see it spiked here, because of the invasion, but the price come down. So, what are we supposed to gather from this? I don't get it.
Why can you not just fix that price lower?
Well, the main reason is that the price cap is designed in a way that says, look, energy companies can recover fair costs and a small profit, but no more than that.
Okay, fair price and a small profit, okay.
The figures are absolutely insane. British Gas profits up 10 times over last year, 751 million.
So British Gas, small profits, 151 billion. 751 million, small profit. That's small profit, guys. Small profit. That's what I'm hearing. So this from Ed Miliband, garbage. Honestly, I've just completely lost hope in the guy. Red Ed redemption. His redemption is finished. British Gas profits leap into 751 million in a year, but apparently that's not allowed, or that's small time. Mad thing, honestly. I'll get rid of some of these. So yeah, pensioners in Scotland not happy.
80,000 people entitled to a pension credit who are currently not claiming it. You would cite stigma as a very big factor in that statistic.
I think it's not just stigma either. Do people know they're eligible? Do they know how to apply for it?
Yeah, often when you talk to a lot of older people, they have a lot of pride that they don't claim anything, they never have claimed anything, and obviously headlines in the Daily Mail, etc., about benefit scoundrels reinforce this idea that you shouldn't claim anything.
But so they don't feel that way about the old age pension, the statutory pension, which you spend your whole life knowing will kick in when you reach retirement age, but to actually plead poverty, if I were to use the language of stigma, to plead poverty is something that the old...
Let's leave this one out.
Help with your...
acknowledging this kind of economic mess is whatever, but again, like you're talking about small savings here, very very small savings here. It's just pointless. This idea that it's not. I wouldn't say Starmer's biggest misstep in government so far. I think the situation they're still arming Israel. I think that's a big misstep for them. I think the rhetoric around the riots hasn't been great either, to be honest. On immigration, I think they failed as well.
Real pain for so many households. So many people have said to me, look here, I may not be the hardest up, but I'm going to really struggle to pay these energy bills. Small businesses that have...
I think this is when the energy price was actually lower,
said, look, the last 2 years have been really tough with COVID, and now we're expected to pay these massive increases. At the same time, oil and gas companies are making enormous profits. And I think everyone can see that's just not right. And that's why the Labour Party has a fully costed plan to freeze energy bills this winter. And we'll pay for that with a windfall tax on those unexpected profits. I understand. I completely understand.
Nah, to be fair, the energy prices were way higher back then from what I can see here. Don't know if you guys can see that. Can you see it used to be quite high? I did expect them to have some kind of plan as soon as it became obvious they'd win the GE. Did I expect too much? Yeah. I'm just looking at these prices now from Statista. The average energy prices based on contracts. But the only thing is, the government did subsidise a lot of it, I think. Just trying to find anything. Energy prices have increased 54% in April, 27% in October. Lower wholesale prices led to full bills around 29% above winter of 21-22 levels. So so I mean, are they higher now than they were before? I'm so confused. Can we get a graph, please? We've got quarterly energy prices. Is there a graph? Can someone supply me with a graph? Alright, let's go to images. So if we can go. Where are the pixels at, guys? Let's try and find something. They've nicked that from the ONS. I think that's. I don't know if that's theirs. It just looks like it's higher than before. It just looks higher than it was in years gone by. 23. Yeah, sorry guys, a bit of a bust. Just trying to see. That's the wholesale price. I'm trying to see for consumers. But yeah, not really much luck. I mean, the UK is up there at the highest, to be fair. Let's go back to all, see what we can find here. See, Channel 4 got anything? Do you have a graph, please? Kind of. This is pretty pixelated, but you can still see it is relatively. It's not. Let's see, December 22, summer, winter 21. Let's see when that summer video was out. August 22. Let's see. That's probably as we're entering here, to be fair. Maybe it's not the strongest. Default tariff cap didn't fall back pre-hike. Level of 22. Just trying to see level. Costs included in price cap level, direct buy. Just trying to see if we can find like a nice graph or something. But there's not much here. Crisis and beyond. Let's see. It's a pretty funny named article. Do people not make graphs anymore? Yeah, it's about the same. It's roughly, it's not that much different. Let's see, price cap not implemented. So it looks roughly about the same here. So this geezer talking about how it would have froze energy bills.
So many people are frustrated at the government that's not doing anything about their energy bills, that's dithering and delaying, just like it did at the beginning of the year. In the end, politics is about choices. And this government is choosing to protect the profits of oil and gas companies, unexpected profits.
Don't know if links work here. No, I wouldn't.
Of oil and gas companies, rather than sticking up for and helping hard-working families and struggling businesses.
So he could do a windfall tax on these companies. He's choosing not to. I mean, it's relatively about the same. I suppose. Let's see. We don't know. I don't know when the energy cap was implemented, but I don't know. It feels like there should be government support, given that the price is still quite high. But yeah, Labour has no real plan to fix sewage. So this is So leading campaigner says government lacks clear, decisive strategy to save Britain's polluted rivers and waterways. This is a guy I think who backed Labour, and at the top, of course, you got 2-child benefit cap set to stay from Rachel Reeves. Just madness, honestly. Let's see that one for last. You got some regret in, a Labour voter saying, "Prove me wrong, but UK Labour have no clear economic ideas at all. How is social cohesion meant to be restored? Where are the plans for restoring public services, building libraries, swimming pools, etc.? How do we help the depressed young? They have no vision." So apparently this is a letter he signed. Labour is offering credible plan to address Britain's economic problems. And then you've got this guy here, I think is him. He goes, "I did sign it, given the alternative was much worse. 14 years of heartless Tory incompetence. I had hope they had a fine secret plan." He was hoping. And
Stings, doesn't
sad to say. Stings, doesn't it? Stings, doesn't it? We're going to be playing that a lot. But, I guess I can't really fault him too much, because at least he's speaking out. At least he's trying to say, look, guys, I didn't think it was going to play out like this. Danny Blanchflower is pretty good. Okay, fair. He's saying, at least, guys, look, at least he's speaking out, right? But don't worry, though. We've got the people who said they'll hold the Labour Party accountable. And you've got this person saying, I wonder if the rumoured Oasis reunion is what Starmer's referring to when he says things will get worse before they get better. This is the vote Labour, give them the biggest majority, and we'll hold them accountable. This was that person. This was that person. So Starmer saying people are going to suffer more, we're going to face more hardship, things like that. There's going to be real big problems. You're talking about below inflation, increase to Whitehall budgets, right? All of this kind of stuff, and the best we've got here is, I wonder if the rumoured Oasis reunion is what Starmer's referring to. It's just sad, isn't it? Sad that all of these people who said a Labour will be better than the Tories, etc. Which I guess objectively that is true. By how much though? I don't know. Literally, are we going to Spider-Man meme Rachel Reeves versus George Osborne? Because the only thing that I'm seeing that's better from her is the pay increases. I haven't seen a ton more, I'll be honest. Tories wouldn't touch the pension payments with a barge pole because they know that's where their votes are at. But is making something means tested when the savings are minimal. You're adding more bureaucracy and more kind of issues. I don't know if that's it for me, I'll be honest. Should be things will get worse before they keep it that way. I mean, I can't see things getting better. That's the thing, because austerity doesn't work fundamentally. That's one of the major problems. That's the big issue for me, anyways. But I don't get it, gang. I'll be honest. Maybe someone who's more intelligent than me in the comments can see it, but I cannot see it for the life of me. Is there anything you guys want to discuss? Because I might wrap it in a few minutes. We're going for almost an hour. Is there any burning questions that people had for me, or am I safe to leave? That's the real question. I'll give you guys a few minutes to figure that out. Because at the moment the Labour strategy for some people is to
start praying, boy.
But yeah, no, it's literally prayers. Honestly, I don't know what more to say. I'll be honest. What's this one? Oh wait, this is the Kai one. I don't know, man. I'm kind of lost. The Tories were, they were very bad. Yeah, they needed to go. They needed to go. The issue is that what we've replaced them with is the Conservatives, but we've replaced them with the Conservative Party of 2010. That's it. That's all we've done here. That's the chair, guys. That's all we've done, honestly. Yeah, the government needs to start investing. I get debt to GDP ratio is quite high, but given other countries have higher debt to GDP ratios, I don't really see the issue that much, especially if interest rates can come down, which they should be doing soon. I think there'll be, I think there was a rate cut, and I think there'll be another one. So I don't, with this stuff, I don't get it. Government investment in public services needed instead of mates' wallets gives returns. Yeah, I mean, investing in big crony, though, always works out. You got that guy who gave Starmer 50 Gs. Now he's got the Whitehall pass. So, clearly that's an investment that's paying off for dude. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that's that interesting going on in the world. To be fair, I'll have a quick flick through on Twitter and the BBC News page to see what's going on. But I think I don't think there's a ton. Well, apart from the international stuff, which is Hezbollah and Israel exchanging fire. That's probably the only thing that's really worth talking about. Our Labour donor was given a temporary pass to number 10, but it was given back several weeks ago. But they've only been in charge for a few. Yeah, this whole situation's kind of nuts, I'll be honest. But yeah, no. Nah, not much. Yeah, see, the BBC News page is not a ton of interesting stuff either. Yeah, I'll probably say we'll call it a day there. Why is Hezbollah? What is Hezbollah? Shouldn't it be who are Hezbollah? And will it go to war with Israel? I mean, they're already at war with Israel, to be fair. The BBC News headlines being weird. Tories applying the same financial systems as Pinochet's Chile, and that ended so well. I'm not too familiar with the Chilean government, I'll be honest. It's more George Osborne than anything. For those that care about our political situation, it's all too depressing. It is quite depressing, I'll be honest. But you got people who are just hitting the inshallah button really at this point. And again,
don't just sit back and hope for the best. We'll make the best happen. That's
a quote you can live by, to be honest. But if you follow guys like this, if you follow people like this, they're not going to get you far when it comes to politics, because all they're saying is, I hope Labour will do the right thing, or just making jokes about it, saying they know Labour will do it, when you've got this guy justifying essentially the riots that were racist. Let's be honest. Let me see if I can find it actually, because I'll put that into both videos. Where is it gone? Oh, what a nightmare. That's why I hate having so many running stories. Where'd you go? Ah, here it is. I'll put this up twice. But yeah, no. Is there anything else for those that care? I think we'll call it a day there. Not much else for me to say, I think. We covered a lot of topics, to be fair, in the space of about an hour. I think we're near the hour mark anyways. I wish YouTube would tell me how long I'm going for. There is a widget button though. What does this do? Does it break everything? Nothing. It does nothing. Yeah, not much else. I guess I'll see you guys next Saturday. Yeah, I should be streaming next Saturday. It's only yeah, I won't be taking a break next Saturday. Yeah, I just did it yesterday. I was tired. But should be going back to Saturday streams. Yeah, glad the Wi-Fi held up. It's been playing up a bit recently. Played up for a couple of days, but it looks fine now. So with that, I will say,
see you, chump.